It was tough. So my first companion, Elder Bustamante, um, uh, wonderful man. I think he was perfect trainer for me. Uh, and he was very silly, very playful, Mexican, didn't know any English at all. And um, except like, normal things that they know, like, hey, what's up? And things that don't matter. Uh, and maybe Book of Mormon words, I don't know. But he did not know a lot of English. Um, and he, uh, yeah, the first day, I remember we just like visited a family and then they gave us hamburgers for some reason. The Mexican, they feed you a lot. And even sometimes you don't expect to be fed and they just feed you. So that can be nice sometimes. It can also be stressful when you have a lot to do, but they like to feed you. But yeah, I didn't understand anything for several weeks. But it's interesting that even though my companion didn't understand any English, um, I mean, my Spanish wasn't too bad either. I will say that. I could communicate with people and say things that made sense, um, and at least say what I felt and say, I am feeling this, I'm thinking this, um, I don't understand this. I could say those things, and that was helpful. But I definitely, the first person that I realized that I could communicate with was my companion, uh, and maybe it's because we spent all the time together. I'm not sure. Maybe it was just a special blessing, but he could definitely understand me, and I could definitely understand him. By 4 weeks, maybe even before that, like I had no problems speaking with him and communicating with him in the streets. So no bikes, by the way. There are no bikes in this mission. Some people have bikes, but they get stolen usually. So it's not worth it unless you have a huge mission. It's just uncommon. But so in the streets, often we would talk. He would teach me Spanish things. And I still remember the first day, I didn't understand almost anything. And so he used a lot of hand gestures. It's almost like it was from a movie, like, just like, I don't know, the white guy, I'm trying to understand. And he's like, using hand gestures, moving around. That's why I'm glad he was so silly, because I remember that back on those things fondly now, even though it was stressful in the moment. And even after we kind of like got a thing down where we could communicate our feelings and like what we're going to do, our plans, and still, like, I would ask him, like, what do things mean? For example, I still remember I asked him what atropellar means, and because I heard it anyways, and he's like, okay. And so he's like, that's what he did to me. And I understood, oh, atropellar means get run over by a car. And so, um, and of course, like in bad Spanish, you're like, oh, so that means that a car, because you don't know the word for hit, it's like, oh, so you get killed by a car or something stupid like that. And it's like, yeah. But also, so fun times talking with your companion, fun times trying to talk to people in the lessons is so hard, since, like, after the lesson, you talk about things that aren't pertaining to religious matters, like business and what they do for their spare time, and I wouldn't understand any of it because that's not what you learn in the MTC. And so it's so easy to like get drowsy or start wandering. And my first several companions kind of got on to me because they'd be like, you're not listening. I know you understand more than this. But it's just so easy not to pay attention when you don't understand. But so I realized that I just had to step it up and just pay a little bit more attention and focus a little bit harder, instead of giving up and just nodding, knowing, because at first, once they realize you don't speak well, they talk to your companion. and like, oh, so he, you know, and they talk about you to your companion, and you kind of understand, but you're like, oh, yeah, it's a sad story. But so I remember that being the case a lot of times. Um, and, but despite the language restrictions, which I think compared to other missions, I caught on very fast. By my fourth transfer, I think I could understand everything people said to me, which I think is pretty good. You know, after hearing like other people in other missions, they go a lot longer without understanding everything. But and I could understand most of everything before that. So, but the last thing that I wanted to say about like my beginning in the mission is that so it is a culture shock. It is very stressful. I did miss home. It's things are different. People laugh at what you say because you say stupid things. You feel like a baby. I felt like a child, and it was hard. After feeling like I'm intelligent, I'm funny, I'm smart, and you go there and you're not intelligent, you're not funny, you're not smart, you can't even talk, and it's very humbling, very, very humbling, and very hard because it was like my personality was ripped away from me because I couldn't communicate my, you know, in the same way that I used to. So you just do your best and try to learn and try to rediscover your personality in another language, and you can still have powerful experiences even though you're not fluent. I had so many experiences where I said to the investigator what they needed to hear, exactly what they needed to hear, and it hit them after like my companions going on and on and on, and it's my turn to speak, and they're just like, oh my gosh, I felt something, you know, and that can happen. And I think I heard you know, it can be the spirit, it can be a humble testimony, it can be just be sincerity, it can be just the fact that since you don't speak well, they pay a little bit more attention to you to try to understand. But yeah, you can still have some really spiritual experiences.